A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to episode 147 of The Warm-Up. It's your boys, Matt and Killer here, guiding you through the preview of the game against Shrewsbury this coming weekend. How are we doing, Killer?
Oh, Matt, I'm basking in the enjoyment of getting last week's warm-up predictions spot on. As we've already mentioned on the main review show, it's a nice place to be in it, Matt, when you get it right for once.
I know, dying out on that all year, won't we, if we don't get any more right. So, this weekend's opponents, Shrewsbury. So, Shrewsbury typically have been really tough competition for Huddersfield over the years. The teams have met on 24 occasions. Town have only won 9 of them, Shrewsbury 10, and 5 draws. A little quirk as well in the fixtures. In the 1984-85 season, Shrewsbury beat Town 5-1 home and away. That's an absolute slamming, isn't it, that season? We've met 4 times in the Cups, 3 times in the League Cup, and Shrewsbury have won 3 cup games against us. The clubs haven't met since 1995, since the now infamous Neil Warnock halftime rant. You'll remember in the Shrewsbury win where Boothby was in Latvia. Town beat Shrewsbury 2-1 the last time they played at the John Smith Stadium in 1995. And old bastards like me will remember Lee Duxbury shinning one in right at the death. But how have Shrewsbury got on recently, Killer? Confidence isn't exactly roaring in Shropshire, is it? You've checked in on Shrewsbury a couple of times this season, haven't you? On the old Sky Sports Plus button. You can listen to me doing my Robert Baratheon impressions, I'm sure, if you listen to the Acast version. Stevenage 1, Shrewsbury 0, Shrewsbury 3, Notts County 3, and they won on penalties in the League Cup. Shrewsbury 1, Peterborough 4. And then during the week, Shrewsbury Town 1, Fulham under-21s 2. You've checked in a couple of times, haven't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've had to sit through a couple of these games and watch them. Shrewsbury look really awful and they've looked terrible all season. Last year, I think they finished 19th in the division. Paul Hurst came in and joined them as a coach, I think, in January for his second spell. They finished with a 3rd worst goal difference last season and scored the fewest goals. So they knew they had to do a bit of work in the summer. But over the summer, it got even worse for them. They've brought in 12 new guys, 16 left. Peterborough this weekend, the most recent league game. Obviously, they played Fulham midweek, but the most recent league game, they had 3 starters. I'm not entirely sure on the keeper. I think he might have been not a debutant, but new to the team this season as well. 3 starters from Saturday played for Shrewsbury last year. And now that is not a good recipe for any team staying in the division. They've got a lot to do to try and stay up this season. Looking at what they've got, they started with a 1-0 defeat against Stevenage. Obviously, we put to bed really comfortably this weekend, and Stevenage missed a penalty and also just battered them all game. They put a really good performance in, and Shrewsbury couldn't live with them. Then they played Notts County in the cup, but Notts County put out a reserve team, whereas Shrewsbury stayed pretty much with what they've got. And it did well, to be fair, but then Peterborough absolutely taught them a lesson this weekend. Very late on in the game, they turned it on, and there's some things there that Town could probably target, and I guess we'll go on to in a little bit, Matt. And then, obviously, yesterday they played the Fulham under-21s, and again, they put out a first team, did Shrewsbury. I think they only made 2 changes, or maybe even 3 changes. They left out the first-choice strikers in John Marquise and Joshua Coyote, I think it is. But they basically played a really strong team, and they still lost late on in the game yesterday. So it's been a very, very poor start for Shrewsbury after a summer of change for them.
Yeah, Paul Hurst was a bit of a hero from his first spell there at Shrewsbury. He did a cracking job, didn't he, in his first spell? I almost got him in the League One playoffs. I think he might have got him in the League One playoffs. But since then, it's not really gone to plan for him or Shrewsbury. Paul Hurst, some people may remember, got the Ipswich job. Didn't last long, unfortunately, for him. Right, so let's hear from the Shrewsbury side. So one of the things about League One is we have some fantastic podcast to pick from, and they always give you some really good insight. And this one is absolutely no different. So here is Chris Hudson from Salopcast. I need to find out before Saturday what Salop is. Anyway, this is Chris, and he's going to let us know exactly how Shrewsbury have been going so far this season.
It's been a tough start to the season for us, with 2 defeats out of 2 in the league, and this week another loss to Fulham under-21s in a game where we fielded what was basically our strongest side. The only ray of sunshine has come in the Carabao Cup, where we dumped out Notts County on penalties, coming from 2-0 down to lead 3-2 before being pegged back by the League Two side. When things aren't going your way, though, nothing seems to go right. We'd have wanted Premier League opponents as rewards for winning that one. Instead, a home tie with Bolton Wanderers of our own division. Not exactly the draw that dreams are made of. It was a summer of change for us, with lots of departures and 12 new signings. Sadly, some things have not changed, and we are still struggling for goals. Last year, we were the lowest scorers in the whole EFL with just 35, and we don't look like being much more prolific this term. When you add in that we also now look defensively dodgy as well, it's a recipe for a long, hard season. Injuries aren't helping. We have a squad of just 20 players, and we're currently missing up to 5 through injury, including 2 centre-backs, Morgan Feeney and Josh Feeney, as well as left-back George Nurse, midfielder Jordan Rossiter, and possibly our captain Carl Winchester, who limped off against Fulham on Tuesday night. We'll likely line up with the 4-1-4-1 formation that we've used in all but one of our games so far. If Huddersfield have any pace, they'll relish getting at our centre-back pairing of Toto Nsiala and Aaron Pierre. And thanks to the aforementioned injuries, those two are almost sure to play. Any real quality we show is likely to come from our loanees. We have an attacking midfielder called Tommy O'Reilly, who we've got in from Aston Villa, and he looks a real player. He's brave and likes to make things happen, but just needs to show he has the end product to back it up. The same might be said about Charles Sago Jr., who we've brought in on loan from Arsenal and who made his full debut in the Fulham game. He's a left winger with pace and a willingness to run at people. He might just give us the X factor, and goodness knows we need it. I can't see beyond a defeat on Saturday right now, but football is a funny old game. Last season we took 4 points off Derby, for example, and they're in the Championship now. So we'll travel in hope rather than expectation. You never know.
So there we go from Chris. So thanks to Chris for that, and feel his pain a little bit, don't we? We've been there over the years. Right, Killer, it's time, isn't it, to go to the tactics board. And I know everybody loves the tactics board. We've actually had some quite good feedback on this. So here we go. So if you're listening, I promise we'll try to be as descriptive as possible. And if you're watching, you can see things on what's happening on YouTube. Okay, Killer. Shrewsbury, as Chris says, line up with a 4-1-4-1. So we've got them in this system here. Savin, we think, will play in goal. Hool at right back. The deadly duo, the defensive linchpins there of what Chris mentioned of Nsiala before. Not great. Left back, Benning. And it's this defensive midfield which is going to be the question mark for them, because Carl Winchester generally plays there, and he's pretty much their best player, isn't he, in that midfield? And if he's not there, I'm not entirely sure who they're going to pick. They don't seem to have a natural fit. Jordan Rossiter's injured as well, so he would naturally sit in there, the ex-Liverpool youngster, and play for Rangers for a little bit as well, did Jordan Rossiter. So I suspect they might try and wheel out Winchester. Midfield is likely to be O'Reilly, like he mentions, on the right-hand side, Biggins, Shipley, and then Sago Jr. on the left, and then probably back to John Marquis up front. Now, Killer, this team itself, tactically, what they'll try and do is congest the middle of the pitch in this sort of area here. So, in front of the defence and the defence itself in here. So we'll look towards a narrow back four, which will almost be like four centre backs, I guess, at certain points. And they'll look to sort of have the wingers tracking back with the wing backs, and then just make everything really narrow and awkward in this. It looks like a number 5 on a dice, doesn't it? In that sort of midfield area, where they'd have your defensive number 6 here, dropping maybe back into form of 5 at times, or maybe just picking up, your Ben Wilders and your Anthony Evans on the edge of the box. And the same for the 2 midfielders who I dare say will drop back. What that'll do is it will isolate John Marquis up front, who is not quick. He's more of a target man. He's a big lad type, or he wasn't quick last time I saw him at Doncaster anyway. So he will be dealt with, I would imagine, with Helic, but he is decent in the air, to be fair to him. If you do put the ball up, he can be quite effective in the air, but if there's no one near him, Huddersfield should be quite good at picking up that second ball. The danger from Shrewsbury would definitely come from the 2 wide players. It's going to be interesting to know what happens when a team just constantly puts, like Stevenage did on Saturday, put 2 wingers high up and force our wing back and try and force our wing backs back. I guess that's what they'll try and do. But it's and then try and put the ball across for your sole man Marquis in the box, and I think that'll be the smash and grab that they'll be looking for. And do you know what? Town have been susceptible to smash and grabs throughout the years. Our record against Shrewsbury throughout the years has been really poor. We've not played them since almost 30 years, so 29 years since we played them in the league. We lost to them in the League Cup when David Wagner was here. Ivan Porovic playing on that day, and he didn't play many games after that killer. So I imagine that's what Shrewsbury will do. Any advances on what you've seen with Shrewsbury? And I think what I've noticed as well is that they do play out from the back a little bit, but they're not particularly very good at it either. The defenders are quite slow in doing so.
They're awful at playing out from the back. They've been caught, I think against Peterborough they got caught once, and then yesterday against the Fulham under-21s, the left back, Benning, tried to play it out from the back, lost it, chased his man back, the young Fulham striker, and ended up pulling him down for a penalty. They did miss the penalty, Fulham, but again, trying to play out from the back, and they're just not a team built to do it. I think you're right on the system there, Matt. The only thing that is up in the air is if Winchester isn't fit to play. Shrewsbury are coming into this game as of today, I think, with 2 centre-backs fit. They don't have any defensive midfielders left. So there is a chance that it could be a total different system because they've got nobody else there to play. The first game of the season against Stevenage, they actually played a 4-2-3-1. But other than that, it's a 4-1-4-1, as we've heard. But they've got next to no men left. They are so light. You can tell what they're going to try and do, Matt. Against Fulham again on Tuesday, I think they scored one from a corner and should have scored a second from a corner, and they didn't. But one of the other problems they've got with every system that they're going to go for, in all the games so far, they've conceded a lot of goals late on. Honestly, like Peterborough put 3 past them, I think, in the last 30 minutes. Against Notts County in the game that they won, they only actually took full advantage of it when Notts County actually took off the first kind of reserves that they went out with, brought some subs on at the 60-minute mark, and then Shrewsbury managed to get over the line there with their first team. Same thing with Fulham yesterday, a couple of later goals, and they've lost the game once more. They have to work hard because they're not a great team, and like you say, Matt, they're going to keep it really compact at the back and in the middle there to try and make it difficult for us to break it down. And it's why I'll be leaning towards one attacking midfielder over a defensive midfielder, which I'm sure we're going to get onto in a second. But they have got some real selective issues. And for Shrewsbury, what worse than starting off as they've done and coming to Huddersfield where we're on an absolute high, we're flying, we're scoring goals for fun, and they're coming here with 3 strikers, whoever's up front, Matt, if it is Marquis, I think he got 4 goals last year in 35 games. They've got Joshua Keogh on loan from Rotherham, who's got 1 in 20 at League One level. He did manage 8 in 34 once, I think, at Carlisle in League Two the year before. And George Lloyd started up front yesterday, and he's got 2 goals and 2 assists in 27 last season for Cheltenham. So if they've got
those in the summer randomly, wasn't he? Which was never true.
And if you're looking for a striker that's going to play as an isolated forward and get you goals, then not the 3 that you'd want to choose one from. It's going to be a very tough day for Shrewsbury. Look, we know League One football. We know anything can happen. But staying compact in that middle and frustrating us is the only way they're going to be able to get something out of this game and looking to hit on the counter.
I mean, if they haven't got a defensive midfielder, they've got another couple of strikers, they could just go 2 up, couldn't they? Like they may look at the blueprint Stevenage did on Saturday and could go 4-4-2 from the off, but that kind of leaves them a little bit exposed, doesn't it, on the counter, really, which I can't really see. For Town, no fresh injuries, I don't think that we're aware of at the minute. I imagine Lee Nichols will continue in goal. Lee Nicholls on good form so far this season. It's good to see him, and he looks like he's playing. He feels like he's happier at the minute, doesn't it? Like it's the happiest he's been for a little bit in a Town shirt. Brodie Spencer will probably continue at left centre back. I mean, it's not a position we love him in. We love the player, but we don't love the position. There, and hopefully this is a game where he can keep adapting and keep growing.
That's it, isn't it, Matt? For Spencer here, this is a game where it should be a little bit easier for him. And as we've seen again since he came back, he gets better most weeks, week on, if he's sticking in that same position. And really, these are the games where you just hope he can get a little bit more comfortable in his role, because he should have less to do defensively, hopefully, and just hope he can get a little bit of confidence. Because with Spencer, I do think a lot of it at the moment isn't just him having to adjust to a new position, but his ability and his belief in that he can actually do it. And this is the kind of game where you can hope it can help him out a little bit.
Yeah, I think Spencer will be there. We'll see Hellick and probably Tom Lees still at centre-backs. Tom Lees does tend to wrap around a bit more, which does, and Sorensen gets really high. So that'll be, I guess, the outlet they'll be looking for if they've got Sego Jr. is quick. I guess they'll be looking to try and take advantage of that in open play if they possibly can. Midfield is where we're going to upset people again. We had a tweet already in the last few minutes. Unhappy at our hints, or unhappy at our questioning whether Jonathan Hogg should be in midfield, because this chap who I can't remember his name, apologies, but he intimates that Jonathan Hogg's run the last 2 games in midfield, which I disagree with. I'd say it was more of an addition in centre midfield than a main event, if you like. I would drop Jonathan Hogg for this game just because it's styles and it's horses for courses. No one's saying Jonathan Hogg's rubbish. No, you have to kind of caveat these things because people get really upset, don't they, if you indicate anything about Hoggy. We love Hogg, but in a game like this, when you expect Shrewsbury to sit deep, you need someone who can thread the ball through the eye of the needle in these type of games, and that is not Jonathan Hogg. That is Herbie Kane. So I would have Herbie Kane personally at number 6 for this one, because if they're not going to play with a number 10, then who's your number 6 going to pick up in open play? Do you know what I mean? There's no role there. The only role that's required is a passing player. In midfield, Ben Wiles hopefully continues his form, but he's going to maybe find it difficult in that little square, in front of goal. So maybe you'll see him pulling wide into the sort of wider areas a little bit more, into these, him and Evans maybe going into the channels a bit more to try and affect things, and then going into the box. So Evans is obviously the man for me. Strikers is somewhere again where I'd probably differ, Killer. I think if Reece Healy's fit, I think I'd still have him on the bench. This for me is a game. If Shrewsbury have got 2 slow centre backs who like to play out from the back, that screams to me number 1 Koroma, because Josh Koroma will lead the press. Josh Koroma is quite good at the press, but Josh Koroma doesn't really get beyond that much. He kind of drops off. So you do need someone who's going to be quick enough and sharp enough to get beyond. And for me, that would be a full league debut for Callum Marshall. So I would go with Koroma and Marshall leading the line. It might not work. If it doesn't work, you've got enough ammo on the bench to change that at certain points. But for me, with the 2 centre-backs they've got, you look at other things, some of the statistics from Shrewsbury as well, their passing accuracy percent for a team that plays out from the back, their passing percentage is 60.9%, which is it's really not good. Aerially, they've 17.5 aerials. They're near the bottom for aerials 1. They are 20th, so 4th bottom are 13th. Pass percentage, Town sitting 6th with 76.7, whereas Shrewsbury again sitting 20th. For total possession, Shrewsbury sitting 21st with 41.9%. In terms of discipline, they're the 3rd worst as well, with 7 yellow cards this season. So it's interesting to see that. You can see from the action zones as well that they do tend to attack from wide areas. They don't tend to attack from the middle of the pitch. 17% of their attacks come through the middle. So it's always going to be that ball out wide, mostly from the right-hand side. So 46% of attacks for Shrewsbury come from the right wing. So O'Reilly will obviously be the key player for them on the right-hand side. So they'll hope that he will he will be on form. But that's the way I'd go, Killer. I'd put Herbie Kane in for Jonathan Hogg just because you're going to need someone in front of that defensive area in front of the defense to just sit and pick passes. Really just sit and pick your passes, because that's what it'll need. It'll need someone who can just circulate quickly and have a lot of players who can do that. Move from side to side. If they're compact, then you need to be able to move the ball from one side to the other with pace to try and pull them across, and that's what Herbie Kane can do. So that's the reason why we'll go with Herbie Kane. It's not for any other reason. It's simply because he's the best passer of football at the club, apart from maybe Balka, but Balka's obviously injured. Killer, what about you? How are you going?
Yeah, I'm with you 100% there. And the fact that Shrewsbury like to attack down the wings as well kind of means Johnny Hogg's not as necessary in there, because that's not where the attacks come from. They don't have those midfield runners that get a little bit further forward and your DCM kind of picks it up. You don't really need him in this kind of game. And to be honest, Matt, if we don't go with Herbie Kane in this game, I can't see any point in the season where Michael Duff would prefer to have the 3 ball-playing midfielders, because this is Rich saying it. I understand that. But Shrewsbury at the moment are the weakest team in the division by a long way from what I've seen so far. And I might have egg on my face come Saturday evening, but as of now, this is going to be, can Town break them down? For me, you have your 3 ball players in for the same reason you said, Matt. It's that unpredictability. It's that you've got 3 guys that can also switch play. They can speed up the tempo, slow it down if necessary. They know how to unlock defenses. They've all played at this level before. They all know exactly how to do it. They're the guys you have to have in that engine room for me this weekend. And I think you're spot on up front as well. It's strange, isn't it, Matt? Would pick the same 11 for this one. We've not spoke about this beforehand, but no, Marshall is the guy. You need to have a bit of pace. Now, their 2 centre-backs are big blokes. They will win most of those headers. And I know, like you've said, Matt, they don't win the aerial battles, but I think that'll be further forward on the field, not necessarily at centre-back, and that's why they're a danger at corners when they send them both up. But honestly, the defending on the floor from these 2 centre-backs, well, depending on who they go with, I'm not entirely sure which should the second one that's fit, but it was comical, and it has been comical so far this season. They aren't very good on the floor. They also tend to run straight back to goal when anyone's running at them. And now that also lends itself into how we like to attack down our wings, in that we run to the byline and pull it back. When you've got 2 centre-backs like they have, that's going to drop to the defence. They drop to the goal line to try and stop the shot on the line. That's perfect for a pullback to Wiles again and to Evans and Herbie Kane if selected. These are made for us. The way we play, the way they play, it's not a good match. It's just not a good match for them.
It's scarily made for us, aren't they?
This is textbook
when it's
football,
scarily
Matt,
like that. This is where it's like the 0-1 shit out the Burton in the Wagner days comes back. That's what I keep thinking.
This is any other game, any other sport. It's not a foregone conclusion, but it's as close to as it can be in sport and teams in the same level, right? It's football. It's very different. I get that. The only other selection issue, Matt, I was considering would have been Headley on the left-hand side. I quite like he's a little bit more direct to goal when he's running in, isn't it? And Sorensen on the right-hand side, he kind of like stays wide and puts the crosses in rather than runs himself with the ball to goal.
Yeah,
I just think there's also a shout for Headley, although Miller's been really good recently, and obviously he played a part in the first goal at the weekend, and the second goal, sorry, I think it was. But that'd be probably a substitution you look at later on if it's not quite working. But for me, this is the game where you're at home, you're in great form against a team that's not. If you've got the opportunity to play as attacking as you think we can, and if Michael Duff wants to do it, then it has to be this weekend, doesn't it?
It does. The bookies have Huddersfield Town favourites, understandably, at 2-5, 5-2 on, and Shrewsbury at 11-2. That's the longest odds in the EFL this weekend, joint with Portsmouth at Middlesbrough. That's fair play to any away fan who makes that one. Right, prediction time, Killer. We might open up predictions going forward and see what people think, but I'll let you go first. What scoreline are you going to go with in your scorers? Seeing as though you're on 100% so far for this.
Yeah, it's a risky one, isn't it? I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0 this weekend, and even that I feel I could be way off. I think they are there to be beaten, and I think we're good at home. And again, off the back of a home win last weekend, I think we'll be free-flowing it and really have a go at it. I reckon Ben Wiles will score again. I think Karoma will get one, and I think Marshall will get one in his debut as well. I think that's what I'll be looking at.
I never want to go too big. You feel like you're being too cocky, too arrogant, don't you? But like you say, these are made for us. They're made for the high press. They're made for the attacks down the wing. I'm going 4-0. this week. I know it's gonna so backfire. Is this?
This must be the biggest prediction we've ever put out on any warm-up show
Yeah.
or anything we've ever done. It has to be the most positive we've ever been.
I know it's. Do you know? It wouldn't surprise me if Town got a couple of goals up and then just took like they did against Peterborough and then just saw it out. It really wouldn't surprise me. I think we tried to do that a little bit. Stevenage just tried to manage against Stevenage. Just tried to manage the game a little bit. So and Morecambe, it wouldn't surprise me if we went 2 or 3 like against Morecambe and then just saw the game out and made a raft of subs second half. But I'm gonna stick my neck on the block. Say 4-0, 2 for Karoma. 1 for Ben Wiles and 1 from maybe a defender. I think possibly Helic from a set piece. It'll be set piece reversal. So I'm going to go 4-0, and I'm very much prepared for that to hit me in the ass come Saturday night. Right, let's go around the grounds, Killer. This is a feature we were going to do. We're going to have a look around, weren't we? So we're away from the tactics board for those that are listening. That's been ditched. What we've got now is we're going to have a look at League One itself. A couple of fixtures this weekend. Stockport County at home against Bristol Rovers at 12:30. So if people get a chance to have a look at Stockport, they're up there, top of the league at the minute after 2 games. Doesn't really matter too much, but they're on 100% record at the minute in the league. They are at home against Bristol City, and you would fancy them to maybe continue their decent form. Other games, Charlton versus Bolton looks like a really good one to me. That's a really good test for both teams because Charlton have also won both games. Not quite as convincingly maybe as us or Stockport, but they're grinding things out at the minute. And Bolton have had a fairly decent start. They're probably a bit disappointed with the draw against Wrexham, maybe, but this is a really good one. It's a good test of where both teams are, and also if it's a draw, that'd be a decent result for us if we win the game. Peterborough Exeter is going to be interesting to see if Peterborough were just a flash in the pan last week or whether they are actually quite decent this year. Birmingham away at Orient is also an interesting one as well, but Orient seem to be quite at it this season, so it's not an easy game for Birmingham. You'd expect them to win, but it's another one. And Wrexham against Reading as well is going to be Wrexham against Reading and Wickham against Rotherham. They're 2 decent fixtures as well, 2 interesting ones. I think Reading have started the season really well. They're quite fancied, weren't they, by me and you this season, Killer? Wrexham also, I think, will be in that sort of top half. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get along. And Wickham versus Rotherham as well, because Rotherham have had a really funny start, haven't they? I don't think it's been great so far. And when you make that number of changes like they have and the players, it takes a little while to get going. So against Wickham, it's going to be interesting because we go there the week after, don't we? So that's going to be interesting to see where they're at as well. So anything stand out to you in particular?
It's just nice to see some of the big boys playing each other because, like, when you see them, it's like Premier League again sometimes where you get in the top teams in the division going against the lads at the bottom, and it's a bit more of a defensive kind of setup, a bit like what we had against Stevenage and what we're expecting to get this weekend. So when you're seeing, like, say, Charlton play Bolton, I think that's that'll be game of the week for me. I fancy Charlton. I think he knows what he's doing, doesn't he, Nathan Jones? He's not going to go anywhere. He doesn't think he's got a chance of doing bits. Everybody's fancied Bolton, and so far, like you say, Matt, they've not been as good as I think people have fancied him to be. Obviously, only 2 games in. It's a bit early to get on anyone at this point. But no, and like you say, Matt, Rotherham, we go there next week, and it's important to see where they're at. Like I said, they've made so many changes. They will get better in time. Steve Evans again knows what he's doing, and you want to get them at this time of year. I'm just hoping they're going to take a few more weeks to kind of get it together and get kind of some sort of system that they all know that works and get some moving up the table, because you know it's going to happen. They won't be struggling down the bottom for very long. So for us to be able to go there next week and get them at this point of the season is probably really good for us. But now there's some cracking fixtures. There's some good fixtures. Having watched the Reading and Birmingham game on the first weekend, I thought those two looked like definitely they're going to be at top of the table at the end of the season. We're going to be fighting with them to be at the right end. It'd be nice to see how Bolton and Charlton go this weekend.
Yeah, I need to clarify that Leyton Orient comment, because I said Leyton Orient seem at it, but they've lost both games this season, which someone might throw back at me. But they did play Bolton at home, and Bolton, I think, won that quite late on. I think it was quite an awkward game. And against Charlton as well, another one where Charlton have won it quite late on in what was an awkward game, and then they pasted Newport 4-1 in the cup. So I think they might be a little bit better than the two results have shown so far. But that's going to be interesting. League One, obviously, is book at the minute. The table means very little at the moment. Town obviously sitting second, but there are 10 teams that haven't lost yet in the league after 2 games. So we'll have a revisit, I think, after the transfer window closes and everything, and from there. But for now, it's Matt and Killer signing off. Both hoping, praying for a win this weekend to back up what our big talk. We will look like absolute morons if Shrewsbury come and grab something. But
Matt, this is going to end up on a clip somewhere, isn't it? This is going to come back to bite us in the arse, and it'll end up on a clip, and we can never show our faces online ever again.
There we go. Right. Thanks, and we'll be back next week.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.